Well, hey, have you guys ever had a trip that just didn't go quite the way you wanted it to? If that's the case, you probably have a bobblehead like that guy planning your trip for you. All right, here's the minute to win it version for my top things I do for every trip to the outdoors. Decide what to do and to learn about it. Plan and equip for the trip based on what I've learned, and go on the trip and document it. All right, this isn't a complete list of things to do for everyone every time. It's just the things that I like to do before every trip. I'll put these tips in the description box. But anyway, let's go into each of these in greater detail. First thing I do is I decide what I want to do, where I want to do it, and I learn everything I can about it. There's at least enough to make a proper plan. And some of those things that I look for might be fishing, hiking, backpacking, camping, vacationing, or sightseeing. Could be a location like the mountains, lakes, rivers, desert, national, state parks, different countries. It could be a local park, whatever. And decide how long we need to go or want to go, and then who we're going to go with. And some of the things to consider for those trips would be, do you need to have a license, like a fishing license? Do you need to have permits, like backcountry permits, camping permits, reservations, maybe a passport if you're going on something out of the country, specialized equipment, like if you're going to do some rock climbing, you might need some rock climbing gear. If you're going to do slot canyons, you might need, again, some rappelling equipment. Probably need some type of map, GPS. You might need special knowledge. You might need to take a guide with you to help you through a special area. It might be unique. There might be seasonal restrictions. There might be some areas you just can't access certain times of the year. Maybe there might be flash floods in a certain area in a certain time of year, and those are off limit times of the year that you wouldn't go. Some areas have group size limits. You get into the backcountry, some areas they might have a group size limit of maybe 14 people or something like that. They might even have a duration. You can't stay more than 7 days in a particular area. These are all things that you need to learn. You need to learn about the ways to get there, how to get around while you're there, type of meals you might need. Is there water available if you're in the backcountry? Do you need to bring in your own water? Things like that. Weather might be an issue too. It might be extremely hot and dry conditions. Maybe it's extremely cold and frigid conditions. And maybe it's just really wet and rainy climate. Been to areas where they have fire restrictions certain times of year. You can't build a campfire, and if you're planning on doing cooking over a fire, well, you might have to find another way to do that. You also got to look at who's in your group that's going with you. You might have limitations on, you might have kids with you that can't maybe travel as far or carry as much. You might have elderly with you. Maybe you got somebody with a handicap of some sort. Do you need to make accommodations for those kind of things? So those are all things that you're going to want to learn about, consider, think about while you're learning about your activity. Okay, now let's talk about the resources that we have to help us, plan for that trip. Because that's the second thing we need to do. We need to plan for the trip based on what we learned. We need to bring the proper equipment. We plan for all of those things. So if we expand this a little bit, you need to plan your itinerary. How are you going to get there? What route you're going to do to get there? What mode of travel are you going to take to get there? How long will it take you to get there? Is there going to be traffic? Is there going to be weather considerations? You decide how long you're going to go. Who's going to go with you again? Special gear needs that you might need. You need a backpack, or you need a canoe, or do you need, rock climbing gear? Those kind of things. You need to plan all of those things based on what you learn. So, for instance, if you're going to a national park, maybe Zion's National Park, for instance, you might need a backcountry permit to camp in the backcountry, or you might need, a permit to hike the Narrows. And while you're doing that Narrows hike, you're obviously going to need to bring some water, because they recommend not to drink that water or filter that water. What kind of clothing needs you're going to need for something like that. Are you going to need to have waterproof clothing, quick drying clothing, wetsuit, dry suit, those kind of things. What time of year? Is it going to be cold? Is it going to be hot? Changes in the weather. You got to beware of flash floods or winter storms, or any of that kind of stuff. So you're going to plan this, and once you make this plan, you're going to make sure you tell somebody your plan. You're going to give a copy of your itinerary to that person or individual or group of individuals. And you're going to set deadlines for when they need to call for help. If I'm not back at a certain time, call for help. Have some contingency plans built into your plan, so that if a road closure or something might limit your access, or maybe you're not going to travel as far as you originally thought you were in your plan. Maybe instead of a 12-mile day, you're only going to hike a 3-mile day. Maybe, there's different contingencies that can happen. Maybe there's, the bridge is out, or the trail is in poor condition and you need to take an alternate route. Anyway, plan for these contingencies, and make sure that if you do make a change from your plan and use one of these contingencies, make sure that you tell or get word to someone somehow of your plan changes. Okay, here are some of the resources that I really like to use when I plan a trip. I like to go to the internet, and I like to go to a number of sites. Like if I want to hike, like say the North Fork or the Provo River in the Uinta Mountains, I might go to YouTube, for instance, and I'll type in North Fork Uintas or Provo River or something, and I'll hit search, and then I'll find videos that people have been to that area, hopefully, and then I can watch those videos and maybe see what the trail conditions were like, or see what they experienced, maybe learn some insider secrets of what they did while they were there. This has been a great resource, and that's part of the reason I do these videos, is so that somebody else might be able to use my videos to help do their trip planning. YouTube's a great option for that. Let's see what else we got here. I like to use All Trails. All Trails is a good option. You can type in, North Fork, Provo, and look at the trail. And when you go there, it'll give you a description of the trail. It'll give you a map of the trail. It'll give you notes and comments of others that have done the trail. There'll be photos that you can look at of the trail and what they saw. It gives you weather conditions of what's to expect over the next few days. If you go to the map, you can go there, and it gives you a contour of the trail, so you can kind of gauge what kind of grade or climb or distance that you're going to be going, and how steep, or other things about the trail. Another option that I like to use is, in conjunction with that, is obviously Google Earth. I love that program. You can zoom in on, let's say, North Fork, Provo River. You have to figure out where things are and know where to zoom in on them, but North Fork of the river trail goes up that drainage right there, and you can zoom in on the aerial photograph, and you can see, maybe there's a place to camp here. Maybe this is a nice little meadow area that you might be able to camp into. You can maybe drop this little guy down here, and you can put him down on the ground, and it'll give you a contour of the land. You can modify with this a little bit, change the angle. You can zoom out and get a feel for what it might look like. Bird's eye view of the area. You can exit the ground level Also, you can look at maybe what the trailhead might look like from the highway. So you can drop your little guy down on the highway, and you can take a stroll down the highway and look at what the terrain looks like, what kind of vegetation, those kind of things. Also, from here you can decide, oh, I want to go right here, so I might use the ruler here and I can build a path and decide how far it is to that spot that I might want to camp at. It's close to water. I know that I need to go 0.4 miles to get there. Let's see, another resource that I like to use. So I like to use this world view. This is satellite imagery of the world taken every day. And from here you can choose the day. You can find the area that you're traveling to. And as long as there's not cloud cover, you can take a look at maybe what the snow conditions might be in that area. And this is great for early season or late season trips into the backcountry, because you can see if a snowstorm affected the area that you're going to. Super handy. They have these little filters that you can put on here to add a different perspective of the drawing. You can put your place labels so you know where things are. Kings Peak, you know, if you live in the Provo area. Anyway, it's been super handy, and you can compare you know, past imagery to current imagery in the same window if you mess around with this program a little bit. But it's I just stumbled across this last season when I was planning for my Highline Trail. I wanted to see what the snow conditions were each day, so I just kept checking to make sure that, you know, when I went on a Highline Trail, the snow was going to be melted. Alright, we got some more options. Traffic cameras, another great option. You know, you can zoom in. You know, what are the snow conditions? I see on the Facebook posts all the time, has anybody been on the Mirror Lake Highway lately? Well, you can zoom in on the Mirror Lake Highway and you can check the traffic camera there and see what the snow conditions are. See if it's snowing there. It's a pretty awesome thing. They got traffic cameras all over the state that you can look at. You know, doesn't necessarily have to be the mountains. It could be right here in your own neighborhood. You can take a look at what it is down at the main intersection outside your street. See, another resource I like to use is the NOAA.gov website. Check the weather conditions. Click on there, you can type in, you know, Camas might be the closest access point to the Uinta Mountains there. You select Camas and hit go and see the full forecast. And when you're here, if you want even a more fine-tuned location of, let's just say, the North Fork of the Provo River, you can zoom in on that and you can set your location to that spot, and it'll update the weather for that specific location. It's super neat. And it gives you the 7-day forecast for that location, which is unique to that location, not Camas. It's unique to the very spot that you pick on the map. It's pretty accurate too. I like using the NOAA weather forecast more than any other weather forecast option on the internet. So let's see, what else do I like to use? Like if you're going to go to a national park, for instance, you go to the National Park Service website. You can search for a park. And from that, it'll take you to the park website, and it'll tell you all about the park. It'll tell you about trail closures and tell you if permits are needed and It's just super handy website. If you're going to a Forest Service area, again, you can go here and they have an interactive map that you can go to. And depending on where you're going, it gives you info of, you can add different layers. You can check for fishing, camping, hiking. You click on an area, like let's just say we're going to go right there. You click on that spot, and it'll pull up information about that very spot, what it is. It might tell you if it's a trail or road, or tells you what the grade might be. It gives you information about that. Anyway, this interactive map is super handy. Alright, another thing I like to do is, smartphones are a great option. You can go to your Facebook feeds and see what the hiker forums have to say. They have people that hike every day, multiple times a day, and they post their feeds on here. They might post some pictures of an area you might want to go. Super handy. One I like to go to a lot is Hike the Wasatch. Another one I like to go to is Utah Backpacking. It's another great Facebook page. They have a lot of good feeds there and tell you about trips and stuff that they've done, and maybe trail conditions, about hiking the Hayduck Trail. That's one I have never heard of. I'll have to check in on that. Anyway, it might give you some ideas on somewhere you might want to go. Hiking Utah is another one. Looks like somebody posted something for Bryce Canyon. Iuena Lovers, obviously, is one of my top Facebook pages I like to go to. Even this Cordell Anderson here looks like he's got a pretty good book and 35 years of knowledge of hiking the Uenas. Maybe that's a pretty good resource. Anyway, that's another option for planning your trip. Alright, the last thing on the list, third and final thing that I do is I go on the trip, and while I'm there I document it. While I'm on the trip, I want to make sure I stick to the plan. I want to be safe, and most importantly, have fun. But while I'm there, I want to document the trip. I want to take pictures. I want to take video. I want to make maybe journal entries if you like to make a journal. Take notes of things that maybe worked and didn't work on the gear. Maybe you want to change out some gear and do something different for another time. You want to take notes of those things so that each one of your trips becomes more and more successful and more enjoyable. By taking notes, you can recount the things that you want to change. Also, pictures and video, journal entries, those are great for keepsakes. You can upload them to YouTube, you can put them on Facebook, you can show friends and family. It's great to be able to relive those memories by watching the videos. Remember who you did it with and what you did, and remember the fun that you had on the trip. Anyway, those are things that I like to do, the 3 things I do for every trip. Again, you want to be safe, have fun, and hopefully we'll see you on the trail sometime.